Text 231. Wanting to see dancing of the four great personalities, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited the miracle of seeing everyone simultaneously. Text 232 translation. Everyone who saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could understand that he was performing a miracle, but they did not know how it was though he could see all four sides. Text 233. In his own pastimes in Vrindavan, when Krishna used to eat on the bank of the Yamuna and sit in the center of his friends, every one of the cowherd boys would perceive that Krishna was looking at him. In the same way, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu observed the dancing, everyone saw that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was facing him. Text 232. When someone came nearby while dancing, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tightly embraced him. 235. Upon seeing the great dancing, great love, and great Sankirtan, all the people of Jagannath Puri floated in an ecstasy ocean of love. Text 236. Hearing the greatness of the Sankirtan, King Prataprutra went up the top of his places and watched the performance with his personal associates. The king was very much astonished to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's kirtan, and the king's anxiety to meet his increase ultimately. Text 238. After the Sankirtan ended, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted was the offering of flowers to the Lord Jagannath deity. Then he and all the Vaishnavas returned to his residence. Text 239. The superintendent of temple then bought large quantity of prasadam, which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally distributed to all the devotees. Text 240. Finally, finally then departs to rest in bed. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Sachimata, performed his pastimes. As long as devotees remain at Jagannath Puri, with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the pastime of Sankirtan was performed with great jubilation every day. Text 242. In this way, I have explained the Lord's pastime of Sankirtan, and I bless everyone with this benediction by listening to his discretion. One will surely become a servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 243. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunatha, always desiring their mercy. I, Krishna Das, narrated Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita following in their footsteps. Purport. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purport Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Madhya lila 11th chapter describe the Veda the Beḍā-kīrtana pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Next chapter.
It's the one.
Either
कुछ नहीं।
ये भी बहुत सुंदर स्मूथ है।
अच्छा
इन्हें पढ़ना है। Okay. Chapter 12, the cleansing of Gundisa temple. In his Amrita Prabha Bhashya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur summarized this chapter as follows. The king of Orissa, Maharaj Prataprudra, tried his best to seize Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Nityananda Prabhu, and the other devotees informed the Lord about the king's desire, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not agree to see him. At that time, Sri Nityananda Prabhu devised a plan, and he sent a piece of the Lord's outward garment to the king. The next day, when Ramananda Rai again again to entreated to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to see the king. The Lord, denying the request, asked Ramananda Rai to bring the king's son before him. The prince visited the Lord dressed like Vaishnava, and this awakened remembrance of Krishna. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered the son of Maharaj Prataprutra. After Sri After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed the Gundicha temple before the Ratha-yātrā took place, he then took his bath at Indradimna lake and partook of prasadam in the garden nearby. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed the temple of Gundicha, a Gaudiya Vaishnava washed the lotus feet of the Lord and drank the water. This incident is very significant for it will awoke within the devotee's ecstatic love. Then the son of Aditya Prabhu named Gopala fainted during Kirtan, and when he did not come to his senses, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu favored him by asking him. There was also some rumor stuck between Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu during Prasadam. Advaita Prabhu uh, said that Nityananda Prabhu was unknown to anyone, and that it was not the duty of householders Brahman to accept dinner with a person unknown in his society. In answer to this humorous statement, Nityananda Prabhu replied that Advaita Acharya was a Munish and that one could not know how his mind could be turned by eating with such an impersonalist. The conversation of these two Prabhus, Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu, carried a deep meaning that only an intelligent man can understand. After all the Vaishnavas finished the luncheon, Swarupa Damadara and other took their prasadam with the room. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took great pleasure when he saw the Jagannath deity after the period of the deity's retirement. At the time, Lord Chaitanya was accompanied by all the devotees, and all them were very pleased. Text 1 translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu watched and cleansed the Gundicha temple with his devotees and associate. In this way, he made it as cool as bright as his own heart, and thus he made the temple a befitting place for Lord Sri Krishna. So to say, text 2 translation. All glories to Gaurachandra, all glories to Nityananda, all glories to Aditya and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 3. All glories to the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, headed by Srinivas Thakur. I beg their power so that I can properly describe Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text for translation. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned from his South India tour, Maharaj Prataparudra, the king of Orissa, became very anxious to meet him. The king sent a letter from his capital, uh, Kataka, to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, entreating him to obtain the Lord's permission so that he could go and see him. Replying, replying to King letter, the Bhattacharya wrote Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and not giving his permission. After this, the king wrote him another letter, text 7. In this letter, the king requested Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, please appeal to all the devotees associated with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and submit this petition of them on my behalf. Text 8. If all the devotees associated with the Lord are favorable, favorably disposed toward me, then can submit my petition at the lotus feet of the Lord. Text 9. By the mercy of all these devotees, one can attain the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Without his mercy, my kingdom does not appeal to me. Text 10. If Gaurahari, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will not show mercy to me, I shall give up my kingdom, become a mendicant and beg from door to door. Text 11. When the Bhattacharya received this letter, he became very anxious. He then took the letter and went to the devotees of the Lord. Text 12. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya met with all the devotees and described the king's wishes. Then he presented the letter to all of them for inspection. Text 13. Upon reading the letter, everyone was astonished to see the King Prataparudra had too much devotion for the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 14. The devotees gave their opinion and said, the Lord will never meet the king, and if we requested him to do so, the Lord would surely feel very unhappy. Text 15. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then said, we shall go once again to the Lord, but we shall not request him to meet the king. Rather, we shall simply describe the good behavior of the king. Text 16. Having thus reached a decision, they all went to the place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They all the read, they were the ready to speak. They could not even utter a word. Text 17. After they arrived at Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's place, the Lord seeing him and said, what have you all come here to say? I see that you want to say something, but you do not speak. What is the reason? Text 18. Nityananda Prabhu then said, we want to tell you something, although we cannot say without speaking. We are still very much afraid to speak. Text 19. We want to submit before you something that may or may not be where befitting. The matter is this: unless he sees you, the king of Orissa will become a mendicant. Text 20. Nityananda Prabhu continued, the king has decided to become a mendicant and accept the sign of a mendicant by wearing an ivory earring. He does not want to enjoy his kingdom without seeing the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purport. In India, there is still in a class of a perfect professional mendicants who are very much like to gypsies of Western countries. They know some magical art and mystical process, and their business to beg from door to door, sometimes pleading and sometimes threatening. Such mendicants are sometimes called yogis and sometimes kana kanafat yogis, kanafata yogis. The word kanafata refers to one who has put a hole in his ear to wear an earring made of ivory. Maharaj Pratap was so depressed by not getting to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he decided to become such a yogi. Ordinary men think that a yogi must have an ivory earring in his ear, but this is not the sign of real yogi. Maharaj Pratap also thought that to become a mendicant yogi, one must wear such an earring. Text 21. Nityananda Prabhu continued, the king also expressed his desire to see the moon-like face of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. To his eyes, full satisfaction, we would like to raise the lotus feet of the Lord in his heart. Hmm? Hmm. Text 22. Hearing all these statements, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mind was certainly softened by externally. He wished to speak some harsh words. Text 23. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I can understand that you all desire to take me to Kataka to see the king. Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is naturally the reservoir of all kindness, and as soon as he heard the statement made by the king, his heart immediately softened. Thus the Lord was ready to go to see king even at Kataka. He did not even consider allowing the king to come from Kataka to Jagannath Puri to see him. It is significant that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so kind that he was ready to go see the king at Kataka. Apparently, he was never expected that the king wanted to see the Lord at his place, but by way of being externally harsh, the Lord indicated that if all the devotees to so desire, he would go to Kataka and see the king. Text 24. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, want to speak of spiritual advancement. All the people will blaspheme, blaspheme me. And what to speak of all the people, Damodar would chastise me. Text 25. I shall not meet the king at the request of all the devotees, but I shall do so if Damodar will give his permission. Purpose. From the spiritual point of view, a sannyasi is strictly forbidden to see materialistic people, especially a king who is always engaged in counting pounds, selling, and pence. Indeed, the meeting between a sannyasi and a king is always considered uh, abominable. A sannyasi is always subjected to a public criticism, and a small fault on his part is taken seriously by the public. People actually expect the sannyasi to preach and not take part of in social political matters. If a sannyasi is subject to a public criticism, his preaching will not be fruitful. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically wanted to avoid such criticism so that his preaching would not be hampered. It so happened that while the Lord was talking to his disciples at the time, the devotee Damodar Pandit was present. Then Damodar Pandit was very faithful devotee and staunch love of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whenever there was anything that might touch, touch or taint the character of the Lord, Damodar Pandit would immediately out, point it out, not even considering the exalted, exalted position of the Lord. It is sometimes said that fools rush in four angles they are not. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to point out the Mother Pandit's foolishness in coming for to criticize the Lord. This is why the Lord stated that if Damodar Pandita would give him permission, he would go to see the king. There was deep meaning in this statement, for it is awaiting warning that Damodar should not dare criticize the Lord anymore, for it was not befitting his position as a devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was considered the guide and spiritual master of all the devotees living with him. Damodar Pandita was one of them, and the Lord rendered Damodar Pandita a special favor by warning him to avoid criticizing him and any further. A devotee or a disciple should never attempt to criticize the Lord of his representative, the spiritual master. Hare Krishna.
Is that easy or should I give you those breaks? Text 25. Text 26. Damodara immediately replied, "My lord, you are the fully independent Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since everything is known to you, you know what is permissible and what is not permissible." Text 27. I am merely an insignificant jiva. So, what power do I have to give directions to you? By your own personal choice, you will meet the king. I shall see it. Text 28. The king is very much attached to you, and you are feeling affection and love toward him. Thus, I can understand that by virtue of the king's affection for you, you will touch him. Text 29. Although you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and are completely independent, still you are dependent on the love and affection of your devotees. That is your nature. Text 30. Nityananda Prabhu then said, "Who is there in the three worlds who can ask you to see the king?" Text 31. Still, isn't it the nature of an attached man to give up his life if he does not attain his desired object? The green thing. Okay. Okay. Text 32. For instance, some of the wives of the Brahmanas who were performing sacrifices gave up their lives in the presence of their husbands for the sake of Krishna. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. This refers to the day Lord Sri Krishna and his cowherd boys and flocks of animals were present in the pasturing grounds near Mathura. At that time, the cowherd boys, being a little hungry, requested food, and Lord Krishna asked them to go to the Brahmanas who were engaged nearby in performing yajna or sacrifice and to get some food from that yajna. Being so ordered by the Lord, all the cowherd boys went to the Brahmanas and asked them for food, but they were denied. After this, the cowherd boys begged food from the wives of the Brahmanas. All these wives were very much devoted to Lord Krishna in spontaneous love. And as soon as they heard the request of the cowherd boys and understood that Krishna wanted some food, they immediately left the place of sacrifice. They were very much chastised for this by their husbands, and they were ready to give up their lives. It is the nature of a pure devotee to sacrifice his life for the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Text 33. Nityananda Prabhu then submitted one suggestion for the Lord's consideration. There is a way, he suggested, by which you need not meet the king, but which would enable the king to continue living. Text 34. If you, out of your mercy, sent one of your outer garments to the king would live hoping to see you sometime in the future. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Sri Nityananda Prabhu was thus very tactfully suggesting that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu give a piece of his old clothing to the king. Even though the king was not to meet the Lord, the king would then be pacified by receiving such a cloth. The king was very anxious to see the Lord, yet it was not possible for the Lord to see him. Just to resolve the situation, Nityananda Prabhu suggested that the Lord send an old piece of clothing. Thus the king would understand that the Lord was showing mercy to him. The king would then not do anything drastic like giving up his life or becoming a mendicant. Text 35. The Lord said, since you are all very learned personalities, whatever you decide, I shall accept. Text 36. Lord Nityananda Prabhu then obtained an external garment used by the Lord by requesting it from Govinda. Text 37. Thus Nityananda Prabhu delivered the old cloth into the care of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya sent it to the king. Text 38. When the king received the old cloth, he began to worship it exactly as he would worship the Lord personally. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. This is also the conclusion of the Vedic injunctions. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the absolute truth, everything in relation to him is on the same platform. The king had great affection for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and although he did not see the Lord, he had nonetheless already attained the conclusion of devotional service. Immediately upon receiving the cloth from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the king began to worship it, accepting it as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord's clothing, bedding, slippers, and everything required as an ordinary necessity are all transformations of Shesha, Vishnu, the expansion of Sri Baladeva. Thus, the cloth and the other paraphernalia of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are but other forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything connected to the Lord is worshipable. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs us that just as Krishna is worshipable, Krishna's place, Vrindavana, is also worshipable. And as Vrindavana is worshipable, similarly the paraphernalia in Vrindavana, the trees, roads, river, everything is worshipable. A pure devotee thus sings, Jaya Jaya Vrindavana Vasi Yata Jana. All glories to the residents of Vrindavana. If a devotee has a staunch devotional attitude, all these conclusions will be awakened or revealed within the heart. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha gurau tasyaite katita hyartha prakashante mahatmanaha. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6:23. Thus, following in the footsteps of Maharaj Prataparudra and other devotees, we should learn to worship everything belonging to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is referred by Lord Shiva as Tadiyanam. In the Padma Purana, it is said, Aradhananam Sarvesham Vishnor Aradhanam Param Tasmat Paradaram Devi Tadiyanam Samarchanam. O Devi, the most exalted system of worship is the worship of Lord Vishnu. Greater than that is the worship of Tadiya or anything belonging to Vishnu. Shri Vishnu is Satchidananda Vigraha. Similarly, the most confidential servant of Krishna, the spiritual master, and all devotees of Vishnu are Tadiya. The Satchidananda Vigraha, Guru, Vaishnavas, and things used by them must be considered Tadiya and without a doubt worshipable by all living beings. Text 39. After returning from his service in South India, Ramananda requested the king to allow him to remain with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 40. When Ramananda requested the king to allow him to stay with the Lord, the king immediately gave him permission with great satisfaction. As for the king himself, he began to solicit Ramananda to make a meeting arrangement. Text 41. The king told Ramananda, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very, very merciful to you. Therefore, please solicit my meeting with him without fail. Text 42. The king and Ramananda returned together to Jagannatha Kshetra, Puri, and Sri Ramananda met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 43. At that time, Ramananda informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the ecstatic love of the king. Indeed, as soon as there was some opportunity, he repeatedly informed the Lord about the king. Text 44. Sri Ramananda was indeed a diplomatic minister for the king. His general behavior was very expert, and simply by describing the king's love for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gradually softened the Lord's mind. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. A diplomat in the material world knows how to deal with people, especially in political affairs. Some of the great devotees of the Lord, like Ramananda, Raghunatha Das Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Rupa Goswami, were government officers and had a background of very opulent householder life. Consequently, they knew how to deal with people. In many instances, we have seen the diplomacy of Rupa Goswami, Raghunatha Das Goswami, and Ramananda employed in the service of the Lord. When Raghunath Das Goswami's father and uncle were to be arrested by government officials, Raghunath Das Goswami hid them and personally met the government officers and settled the affair diplomatically. This is but one instance. Similarly, Sanatan Goswami, after resigning his ministership, was thrown in jail, and he bribed the attendant of the jail so he could leave the clutches of the Nawab and live with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now we see Ramananda, a most confidential devotee of the Lord, diplomatically softened the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, despite the fact that the Lord definitely decided not to meet the king. The diplomacy of Ramananda and entreaties of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and all the other great devotees succeeded. The conclusion is that diplomacy used for the service of the Lord is a form of devotional service. Text 45. Maharaja Prataparudra, in great anxiety, could not endure not seeing the Lord. Therefore, Sri Ramananda, by his diplomacy, arranged a meeting with the Lord for the king. Text 46. Sri Ramananda frankly requested Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please show your lotus feet to the king at least once. Text 47. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, my dear Ramananda, you should make this request after duly considering whether it is befitting for a sannyasi to meet a king. Text 48. If a mendicant meets a king, this world and the next world are both destroyed for the mendicant. Indeed, what is there to say of the next world? In this world, people will joke if a sannyasi meets a king. Text 49. Ramananda replied, my lord, you are the supreme independent personality. You have nothing to fear from anyone because you are not dependent on anyone. Text 50. When Ramananda addressed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu objected, saying, I am not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but an ordinary human being. Therefore, I must fear public opinion in three ways, with my body, mind, and words. Text 51. As soon as the general public finds a little fault in the behavior of a sannyasi, they advertise it like wildfire. A black spot of ink cannot be hidden on a white cloth. It is always very prominent. Text 52. Ramananda replied, my dear Lord, you have delivered so many sinful people. This king, Prataparudra, the king of Orissa, is actually a servitor of the Lord and your devotee. Text 53. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, there may be much milk in a big pot, but if it is contained by a drop of liquor, it is untouchable. Text 54. The king certainly possesses all good qualities, but simply by taking up the name king, he has infected everything. Text 55. But if you are still very eager for the king to meet with me, please first bring his son to meet me. Text 56. It is indicated in the revealed scriptures that the son represents the father. Therefore, the son's meeting with me would be just as good as the king's meeting with me. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10:78-36, it is said, Atma vai putra utpanna iti vedanu shasanam. The Vedas enjoin that one is born as his own son. The son is non-different from the father, and this is admitted in every revealed scripture. In Christian theology, it is believed that Christ, the Son of God, is also God, or in other words, that they are identical. Text 57. Ramantraya then went to inform the king about his talks with Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu, and following the Lord's order, brought the king's son to see him. Text 58. The prince, just entering upon his youth, was very beautiful. He was blackish in complexion and had large lotus eyes. Text 59. The prince was dressed in yellow cloth, and there were jeweled ornaments decorating his body. Therefore, anyone who saw him would remember Lord Krishna. Text 60. Seeing the boy, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu immediately remembered Krishna. Meeting the boy in ecstatic love, the Lord began to speak. Text 61. Here's a great devotee, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu said. Upon seeing him, everyone can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, son of Maharaja Nanda. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. In his Anubhashya, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura states that a materialist mistakenly accepts the body and mind as the source of material enjoyment. In other words, a materialist accepts the bodily conception of life. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu did not regard the son of Maharaja Prataparudra with the idea that he was a materialist, being the son of a materialist, nor did he consider himself the enjoyer. Mayavadi philosophers make a great mistake by assuming that the Satchidananda Vigraha, the transcendental form of the Lord, is like a material body. However, there is no material contamination in transcendence, nor is there any possibility of imagining a spirituality in matter. One cannot accept matter as spirit, as indicated by the technical words Bhauma Ijyadhi, Bhagavatam 10:84-13. Materialistic Mayavadis imagine the form of God in matter. Although, according to their imagination, God is ultimately formless. This is simply mental speculation. Even though Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he placed himself in the position of a gopi. He also accepted the king's son directly as the son of Maharaja Nanda, Brajendra Nandana Hari. This is perfect vision according to the direction of the Vedic culture as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Pandita Samadarshinaha. Such acceptance of the absolute truth according to Vaishnava philosophy is explained in both the Mundaka Upanishad 3.2.3 and Katha Upanishad 1.2.23 in the following words. Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyo Na Medhaya Na Bahuna Shrutena Yam Evaisha Vrunute Tena Labhyas Tasyaisha Atma Vrunute Tanum Swam. The Supreme Lord is not obtained by expert explanations, by vast intelligence, nor even by much hearing. He is obtained only by one whom he himself chooses. To such a person, he manifests his own form. The living entity is entangled in material existence due to his lack of spiritual vision. Such spiritual vision. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung in his Kalyana Kalpataru, Samsare Asiya Prakriti Bhajiya Purusha Abhimane Mari. When the living entity comes to the material world, he thinks himself the enjoyer. Thus, he becomes more and more entangled. Text 62. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu continued, I have become very much obligated just by seeing this boy. After saying this, the Lord again embraced the prince. Text 63. As soon as the prince was touched by Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, symptoms of ecstatic love immediately manifested themselves in his body. These symptoms included perspiration, trembling, tears, being stunned, and jubilation. Text 64. The boy began to cry and dance, and he chanted, Krishna, Krishna. Upon seeing his bodily symptoms and this chanting and dancing, all the devotees praised him for his great spiritual fortune. Text 65. At that time, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu calmed the youth and ordered him to come there daily to meet him. Text 66. Ramananda Raya and the boy then departed from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Ramananda took him back to the king's palace. The king was very happy when he heard of his son's activities. Text 67. Just by embracing his son, the king was filled with ecstatic love, just as if he had touched Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu directly. Text 68. From then on, the fortunate prince was one of the most intimate devotees of the Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. In this regard, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati writes, Yat Karunya Kataksha Vaibhava Vatam. If Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu simply glances at someone for a moment, that person immediately turned into one of the most confidential devotees of the Lord. The prince came to see the Lord for the first time. But by the Lord's mercy, the boy immediately became a topmost devotee. This was not in theory, but in practice. We cannot apply the Nagna Madriga Nyaya formula. This states that if one's mother was naked in her childhood, she should continue to remain naked, even though she has become the mother of so many children. If a person is actually blessed by the mercy of the Lord, he can immediately become a topmost devotee of the Lord. The logic of Nagna Matriga states that if a person is not elevated on such and such a date, he cannot become an exalted devotee overnight, as it were. This particular instance offers evidence to contradict that theory. On the previous day, the boy was simply an ordinary prince, and the next day he was counted as one of the topmost devotees of the Lord. This was all made possible by the causeless mercy of the Lord. The Lord is omnipotent, all-powerful, or almighty. He can act as he likes. Text 69. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu acted in the society of his pure devotees, performing his pastimes and spreading the Sankirtana movement. Text 70. Some of the prominent devotees like Advaita Acharya used to invite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to take his meals at their homes. The Lord accepted such invitations accompanied by his devotees. Text 71. In this way, the Lord passed some days in great jubilation. Then the car festival of Lord Jagannath approached. Text 72. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first of all called for Kashi Mishra, then for the superintendent of the temple, then for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Text 73. When these three people came before the Lord, he begged them for permission to wash the temple known as Gundicha. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The Gundicha temple is situated 2 miles northeast of the Jagannath temple. At the time of the Ratha-yātrā festival, Lord Jagannath goes to the Gundicha temple from his original temple and stays there for 1 week. After 1 week, he returns to his original temple. It is understood by hearsay that the wife of Indradimna, the king who established the Jagannath temple, was known as Gundicha. There is also mention of the name of the Gundicha temple in the authoritative scripture. The area of the Gundicha temple is estimated to be 288 cubits by 215 cubits. A cubit is about 1.5 feet. The main temple inside is about 36 cubits by 30 cubits, and the Kirtana hall is 32 cubits by 30 cubits. Text 74, translation. Upon hearing the Lord's request for permission to wash the Gundicha temple, the Padicha, the superintendent of the temple, said, "My dear sir, we are all your servants. Whatever you desire is our duty to perform." Text 75. The king gave a special order for me to do without delay, whatever your lordship orders. Text 76. My dear Lord, washing the temple is not service befitting you. Nonetheless, if you wish to do so, it is to be accepted as one of your pastimes. Text 77. To wash the temple, you need many water pots and brooms. Therefore, order me. I can immediately bring all these things to you. Text 78. As soon as the superintendent understood the desire of the Lord, he immediately delivered 100 new water pots and 100 brooms for sweeping the temple. Text 79. The next day, early in the morning, the Lord took his personal associates with him and with his own hand smeared sandalwood pulp on their bodies. Text 80. He then gave each devotee a broom with his own hand, and taking all of them personally with him, the Lord went to Gundicha. Text 81. In this way, the Lord and his associates went to cleanse the Gundicha temple. At first, they cleansed the temple with the brooms. Text 82. The Lord cleansed everything inside the temple very nicely, including the ceiling. He then took up the sitting place, Simhasana, cleansed it, and again put it in its original place. Text 83. Thus the Lord and his companions cleansed and swept all the temple's buildings, big and small, and finally cleansed the area between the temple and the Kirtan hall. Text 84. Indeed, hundreds of devotees were engaged in cleansing all around the temple. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was personally carrying out the operation just to instruct others. Text 85. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed and cleansed the temple in great jubilation, chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna all the time. Similarly, all the devotees were also chanting and at the same time performing their respective duties. Text 86. The entire beautiful body of the Lord was covered with dust and dirt. In this way, it became transcendently beautiful. At times, when cleansing the temple, the Lord shed tears, and in some places, he even cleansed with those tears. Text 87. After this, the place where the deity's food was kept, Bhoga Mandira, was cleansed. Then the yard was cleansed, and then all the residential quarters, one after the other. Text 88. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu collected all the straw, dust, and grains of sand in one place, he gathered it all in his cloth and threw it outside. Text 89. Following the example of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the devotees in great jubilation began to gather straws and dust with their own cloths and throw them outside the temple. Text 90. The Lord then told the devotees, I can tell how much you have labored and how well you have cleansed the temple simply by seeing all the straw and dust you have collected outside. Text 91. Even though all the devotees collected dirt in one pile, the dirt collected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was much greater. Text 92. After the inside of the temple was cleansed, the Lord again allotted areas for the devotees to cleanse. Text 93. The Lord then ordered everyone to cleanse the inside of the temple very perfectly by taking finer dust, straws, and grains of sand and throwing them outside. Text 94. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the Vaishnavas cleansed the temple for the second time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to see the cleansing work. Text 95. While the temple was being swept, about 100 men stood ready with filled water pots, and they simply awaited the Lord's order to throw the water from them. Text 96. As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called for water, all the men immediately brought the 100 water pots, which were completely filled, and delivered them before the Lord. Text 97. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first washed the main temple and then thoroughly washed the ceiling, the walls, the floor, the sitting place, Simhasana, and everything else within the room. Text 98. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself and his devotees began to throw water onto the ceiling. When this water fell, it washed the walls and floor. Text 99. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to wash the sitting place of Lord Jagannath with his own hands, and all the devotees began to bring water to the Lord. Text 100. All the devotees within the temple began to wash. Each one had a broom in his hand, and in this way, they cleansed the temple of the Lord. Text 101. Someone brought water to pour into the hands of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and someone poured water on his lotus feet. Text 102. The water that fell from the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was drunk by someone who hid himself. Someone also begged for that water, and another person was giving that water in charity. Text 103. After the room was washed, the water was let out through an outlet, and it then flowed and filled the yard outside. Text 104. The Lord mopped the rooms with his own cloths, and he polished the throne with them also. Text 105. In this way, all the rooms were cleansed with 100 water pots. And after the rooms had been cleansed, the minds of the devotees were as clean as the rooms. Text 106. When the temple was cleansed, it was purified, cool, and pleasing. just as if the Lord's own pure mind had appeared. Text 107. Since hundreds of men were engaged in bringing water from the lake, there was no place to stand on the banks. Consequently, someone began to draw water from a well. Text 108. Hundreds of devotees brought water in the pots, and hundreds took the empty pots away to fill them up again. Text 109. With the exception of Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Swarup Damodara, Brahmananda Bharati, and Paramananda Puri, everyone was engaged in filling the water pots and bringing them there. Text 110. Many of the water pots were broken when people collided with one another, and hundreds of men had to bring new water pots to fill. Text 111. Some people were filling the pots and others were washing the rooms, but everyone was engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna and Hari. Text 112. One person begged for a water pot by chanting the holy names Krishna Krishna, and another delivered a pot while chanting Krishna Krishna. Text 113. Whenever anyone had to speak, he did so by uttering the holy name of Krishna. Consequently, the holy name of Krishna became an indication for everyone who wanted something. Text 114. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was vibrating the holy name of Krishna in ecstatic love, he himself was performing the work of hundreds of men. Text 115. It appeared as though Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were cleansing and washing with 100 hands. He approached every devotee just to teach him how to work. Text 116. When he saw someone doing nicely, the Lord praised him. But if he saw that someone was not working to his satisfaction, he immediately chastised that person, not bearing him any grudge. Text 117. The Lord would say, "You have done well. Please teach this to others so that they may act in the same way." Text 118, translation. As soon as they heard Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say this, everyone became ashamed. Thus, the devotees began to work with great attention. Text 119. They washed the Jagamohana area and then the place where food was kept. All other places were also washed. Text 120. In this way, the meeting place was washed, the entire yard, the raised sitting places, the kitchen, and every other room. Text 121. Thus, all places around the temple were thoroughly washed within and without. Text 122. After everything was thoroughly washed, a Vaishnava from Bengal, who was very intelligent and simple, came and poured water on the lotus feet of the Lord. Text 123. The Gaudiya Vaishnava then took that water and drank it himself. Seeing that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt a little unhappy and was also outwardly angry. Text 124. Although the Lord was certainly satisfied with him, he became angry externally in order to establish the etiquette of religious principles. Text 125. The Lord then called for Swarup Damodar and told him, "Just see the behavior of your Bengali Vaishnava." Text 126. This person from Bengal has washed my feet within the temple of the personality of Godhead. Not only that, but he has drunk the water himself. Text 127. I now do not know what my destination is because of this offense. Indeed, your Bengali Vaishnava has greatly implicated me. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. It is significant that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Swarup Damodar Goswami that the Bengali Vaishnava was your Gaudiya Vaishnava. This means that all Gaudiya Vaishnavas who are followers of Chaitanya cult are subordinate to Swarup Damodar Goswami. The Parampara system is very strictly observed by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's personal secretary was Swarup Damodar Goswami. The next group of devotees was the 6 Goswamis, then Kaviraj Goswami. It is necessary to observe the Parampara system of the Chaitanya cult. There are many offenses one can commit while serving the Lord, and these are described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Hari Bhakti, Vilasa, and other books. According to the rules and regulations, no one should accept obeisances in the temple of the Lord before the deity. For nor is it proper for a devotee to offer obeisances and touch the feet of the spiritual master before the deity. This is considered an offense. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was personally on the the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, it was not actually offensive to wash his lotus feet in the temple. However, because he was playing the part of an acharya, the Lord considered himself an ordinary human being. He also wanted to give instructions to ordinary human beings. The point is that even though one plays the part of a spiritual master, he should not accept obeisances or permit a disciple to wash his feet before the deity. This is a matter of etiquette. Text 128. At this point, Swarup Damodar Goswami caught the Gaudiya Vaishnava by the neck and giving him a little push, ejected him from the Gundicha Puri temple and made him stay outside. Text 129. After Swarup Damodar Goswami returned within the temple, he requested Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to excuse that innocent person. Text 130. After this incident, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very satisfied. He then asked all of the devotees to sit down in 2 lines on both sides. Text 131. The Lord then personally sat down in the middle and picked up all kinds of straw, grains of sand and dirty things. Text 132. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was picking up the straws and the grains of sand, he said, I shall gather everyone's collection and I shall ask whoever has collected less than all the others to pay a fine of sweet cakes and sweet rice. Text 133. In this way, all the quarters of the Gundicha temple were completely cleansed and cleared. All quarters were cool and spotless, like one's cleansed and pacified mind. Text 134. When the water from the different rooms was finally let out through the halls, it appeared as if new rivers were rushing out to meet the waters of the ocean. Text 135. Outside the gateway of the temple, all the roads were also cleansed. No one could tell exactly how this was done. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. In commenting on the cleansing of the Gundicha temple, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura says that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as the world leader, was personally giving instructions on how one should receive the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead within one's cleansed and pacified heart. If one wants to see Krishna seated in his heart, he must first cleanse the heart as prescribed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshashtaka, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. In this age, everyone's heart is especially unclean, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Hridyantasto hya To wash away all dirty things accumulated within the heart, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised everyone to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. The first result will be that the heart is cleansed. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam 1:2:17 confirms this statement. Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantasto Hyapadrani Vidunoti Suhritsadam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotees who relishes his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. If a devotee at all wants to cleanse his heart, he must chant and hear the glories of the Lord, Sri Krishna, Shrinodam Swagata Krishna. This is a simple process. Krishna himself will help cleanse the heart because he is already seated there. Krishna wants to continue living within the heart, and the Lord wants to give directions for one who has kept his heart as clean as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept the Gundicha temple. The devotee, therefore, has to cleanse his heart just as the Lord cleansed the Gundicha temple. In this way, one can be pacified and enriched in devotional service. If the heart is filled with straw, grains of sand, weeds, or dust, in other words, Anyabhilashita Purna, one cannot enthrone the Supreme Personality of Godhead there. The heart must be cleansed of all material motives brought about through fruitive work, speculative knowledge, the mystic yoga system, and so on, and so many other forms of so-called meditation. The heart must be cleansed without ulterior motive. As Srila Rupa Goswami said, Anyabhidashata Shunyam Jnana Karma Dhyanavradam. In other words, there should not be any external motive. One should not attempt material upliftment, understanding the Supreme by speculative knowledge, fruitive activity, severe austerity, and penance, and so on. All these activities are against the natural growth of spontaneous love of Godhead. As soon as these are present within the heart should be understood to be unclean and therefore unfit to serve as Krishna's sitting place. We cannot perceive the Lord's presence in our hearts unless our hearts are cleansed. A material desire is explained as a desire to enjoy the material world to its fullest extent. In modern language, this is called economic development. An inordinate desire for economic development is considered to be like straws and grains of sand within the heart. If one is overly engaged in material activity, the heart will always remain disturbed, as stated by Narottam Das Thakur. Samsara vishanale divanishi hiyajale judaide na kainu upaya. In other words, endeavor for material opulence is against the principle of devotional service. Material enjoyment includes activities such as great sacrifices for auspicious activity, charity, austerity, elevation to the higher planetary system, and even living happily within the material world. Modernized material benefits are like the dust of material contamination. When this dust is agitated by the whirlwind of fruitive activity, it overcomes the heart. Thus, the mirror of the heart is covered with dust. There are many desires to perform auspicious and inauspicious activities, but people do not know how life after life they are keeping their hearts unclean. One who cannot give up the desire for fruitive activity is understood to be covered by the dust of material contamination. Karmis generally think that the interaction of fruitive activities can be counteracted by another karma or fruitive activity. This is certainly a mistaken conception. If one is deluded by such a conception, he is cheated by his own activity. Such activities have been compared to an elephant's bathing. An elephant may bathe very thoroughly, but as soon as it comes out of the river, it immediately takes some sand from the land and throws it all over its body. If one suffers due to his past fruitive activities, he cannot counteract his suffering by performing auspicious activities. The sufferings of human society cannot be counteracted by material plans. The only way suffering can be mitigated is by Krishna consciousness. When one takes to Krishna consciousness and engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord, beginning with chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord, the cleansing of the heart begins. When the heart is actually cleansed, one can clearly see the Lord sitting there without any disturbance. In Srimad Bhagavatam 9.468, the Lord confirms that he sits within the heart of the pure devotee. Sadhavo hridayam mahyam, sadhunam hridayam tvaham. Impersonal speculation, monism, merging into the existence of the Supreme. Speculative knowledge, mystic yoga, and meditation are all compared to grains of sand. They simply cause irritation to the heart. No one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by such activities. Nor do we give the Lord a chance to sit in our hearts peacefully. Rather, the Lord is simply disturbed by them. Sometimes yogis and jnanis in the beginning take to the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra as ways to begin their various practices. But when they falsely think that they have attained release from the bondage of material existence, they give up chanting. They do not consider that the ultimate goal is the form of the Lord or the name of the Lord. Such unfortunate creatures are never favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for they do not know what devotional service is. Lord Krishna describes them in the Bhagavad Gita in this way. Tan aham dvishata kruran samsareshu naradhaman kshipamyajasram Ashubhan Asurishva Eva Yorishu. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. Bhagavatam 16.19. By his practical example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has shown us that all the grains of sand must be picked up thoroughly and thrown outside. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also cleansed the outside of the temple, feeling that the grains of sand would again come within. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura explains that even though one may become free from the desire for fruitive activity, sometimes the subtle desire for fruitive activity again comes into being within the heart. One often thinks of conducting business to improve devotional activity. But the contamination is so strong that it may later develop into misunderstanding, described as kuti nati, fault finding, and pratistasha, the desire for name and fame and for high position. Jiva himsa, envy of other living entities. Nishiddhachara, accepting things forbidden in the Shastra. Kama, desire for material gain. And puja, hungering for popularity. The word kutinati means duplicity. As an example of pratishtha, one may attempt to imitate Srila Haridas Thakur by living in a solitary place. One's real desire may be for name and fame. In other words, one thinks that fools will accept one to be as good as Haridas Thakur, just because one lives in a solitary place. These are all material desires. A neophyte devotee is certainly to be attacked by other material desires as well, namely desires for women and money. In this way, the heart is again filled with dirty things and becomes harder and harder. Like that of a materialist, gradually one desires to become a reputed devotee or an avatara incarnation. The word jiva himsa, envy of other living entities, actually means stopping the preaching of Krishna consciousness. Preaching work is described as paropakara, welfare activity for the others. Those who are ignorant of the benefits of devotional service must be educated by preaching. If one stops preaching and simply sits down in a solitary place, he is engaging in material activity. If one desires to make a compromise with the Mayavadis, he is also engaged in material activity. A devotee should never make compromise with non-devotees. By acting as a professional guru, mystic yogi, or miracle man, one may cheat and bluff the general public and gains fame as a wonderful mystic. But all this is considered to be dust, straw, and grains of sand within the heart. In addition, one should follow the regulative principles and not desire illicit sex, gambling, intoxicants, or meat. To give us practical instructions, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cleansed the temple twice. His second cleansing was more thorough. The idea was to throw away all the stumbling blocks on the path of devotional service. He cleansed the temple with firm conviction. It is evident from him using his own personal garments for cleaning. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to see personally that the temple was thoroughly cleansed to the standard of clean marble. Clean marble gives a cooling effect. Devotional service means attaining peace from all disturbances caused by material contamination. In other words, it is a process by which the mind cooled. Then the mind can be peaceful and thoroughly cleansed, and when one no longer desires anything but devotional service. Even though all dirty things may be cleansed away, sometimes subtle desires remain in the mind for impersonalism, monism, success, and the four principles of religious activity, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. All these are like spots on clean cloth. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also wanted to cleanse all these away. By his practical activities, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu informed us how to cleanse our hearts. Once the heart is cleansed, we should invite Lord Sri Krishna to sit down, and we should observe the festival by distributing prasadam and chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to teach every devotee by his personal behavior. Everyone who spreads the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepts a similar responsibility. The Lord was personally chastising and praising individuals in the course of the cleansing, and those who are engaged as acharyas must learn from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu how to train devotees by personal example. The Lord was very pleased with those who could cleanse the temple by taking out undesirable things accumulated within. This is called anartha nivritti, cleansing the heart of all unwanted things. Thus, the cleansing of the Gundicha Mandira was conducted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to let us know how the heart should be cleansed and soothed to receive Lord Sri Krishna and enable him to sit within the heart without disturbance. Text 136. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also cleansed the Narsimha temple inside and outside. Finally, he rested a few minutes and then began dancing. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The Narsimha temple is a nice temple just outside the Gundicha temple. In this temple, there's a great festival on the day of Narsimha Chaturdashi. There is also a Narsimha temple at Navadvipa where the same festival is observed, as directed by Murari Gupta in his book Caitanya Charita. Text 137. All around Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the devotees performed congregational chanting. The Lord, just like a maddened lion, danced in the middle. Text 138. As usual, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, there were perspiration, trembling, fading, tears, jubilation, and roaring. Indeed, the tears from his eyes washed his body and those before him. Text 139. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed the bodies of all the devotees with the tears from his eyes. The tears poured like the rains in the month of Shravana. Text 140. The sky was filled with the great and loud chanting of Sankirtana, and the earth shook from the jumping and dancing of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 141. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always liked the loud chanting of Swarup Damodar. Therefore, when Swarup Damodar sang, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced and jumped high in jubilation. Text 142. The Lord thus chanted and danced for some time. Finally, understanding the circumstances, he stopped. Text 143. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then ordered Sri Gopala, the son of Advaitacharya, to dance. Text 144. While dancing in ecstatic love, Sri Gopala fainted and fell to the ground unconscious. Text 145. When Sri Gopala fainted, Advaitacharya hastily took him upon his lap. Seeing that he was not breathing, he became very much agitated. 10:146. Advaitacharya and others began to chant the holy name of Lord Narsimha and sprinkle water. The roaring of the chant was so great that it seemed to shake the entire universe. Text 147. When the boy did not regain consciousness after some time, Advaitacharya and the other devotees began to cry. Text 148. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu placed his hand on the chest of Sri Gopala and said loudly, Gopala, stand up. Text 149. As soon as Gopala heard the voice of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he immediately came to his senses. All the devotees then began to dance, chanting the holy name of Hari. Text 150. This incident has been described in detail by Vrindavan Das Thakura. Therefore, I have described it only in brief. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. This is a matter of etiquette. If a previous acharya has already written about something, there is no need to repeat it for personal sense gratification or to outdo the previous acharya. Unless there is some definite improvement, one should not repeat. Text 151. After taking rest, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the devotees departed to take their baths. Text 152. After bathing, the Lord stood on the bank of the lake and put on dry garments. After offering obeisances to Lord Narsimhadeva, whose temple was nearby, the Lord entered a garden. Text 153. In the garden, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down with the other devotees. Vaninath Raya then came and brought all kinds of Mahaprasadam. Text 154 to 155. Kashi Mishra and Tulasi, the superintendent of the temple, brought as much prasadam as 500 men could eat. Seeing the large quantity of prasadam, which consisted of rice, cake, sweet rice, and a variety of vegetables, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very satisfied. Text 156. Among the devotees present with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were Paramananda Puri, Brahmananda Bharati, Advaita Acharya, and Nityananda Prabhu. Text 157. Acharya Ratna, Acharya Nidhi, Srivas Thakur, Gadadhar Pandit, Shankara, Nandanacharya, Raghava Pandita, and Vakreshwara were also present. Text 158. Receiving the permission of the Lord, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya sat down. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all his devotees sat on raised wooden seats. Text 159. In this way, all the devotees sat down to take their lunches in consecutive lines, one beside the other. Text 160. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was repeatedly calling Haridasa, Haridasa, and at that time Haridasa, standing at a distance, spoke as follows. Text 161. Haridas Thakur said, "Let Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu take his lunch with the devotees. Since I am abominable, I cannot sit down among you." Text 162. Govinda will give me prasadam later, outside the door. Understanding his mind, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not call him again. Text 163 to 164. Swarup Damodar Goswami, Jagadananda, Damodar Pandit, Kashishwara Gopinath, Vaninatha, and Shankara distributed prasadam, and the devotees chanted the holy names at intervals. Text 165. Lord Sri Krishna had previously taken his lunch in the forest, and that very pastime was remembered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 166. Just by remembering the pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was agitated by ecstatic love, but considering the time and circumstance, he remained somewhat patient. Text 167. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You can give me the ordinary vegetable known as lafra vyanjana, and you may deliver to all the devotees better preparations like cake, sweet rice, and amrita guttika." Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Lafra vyanjana is a combination of several green vegetables all mixed together. It is often mixed with rice and delivered to poor men. Amrita Gotika is a preparation of thick puri mixed with condensed milk. It is also known as Amrita Rasavali. Text 168. Since Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is omniscient, he knew what types of preparations each person liked. He therefore had Swarup Damodar deliver these preparations to each devotee to fulfill his satisfaction. Text 169. Jagadananda went to distribute prasadam, and suddenly he placed all the first-class preparations on the plate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 170. When such nice prasadam was put on the plate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord was outwardly very angry. Nonetheless, when the preparations were placed on his plate, sometimes by tricks and sometimes by force, the Lord was satisfied. Text 171. When the food was thus delivered, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu looked at it for some time. Being afraid of Jagadananda, he finally ate something. Text 172. The Lord knew that if he did not eat the food offered by Jagadananda, Jagadananda would certainly fast. Being afraid of this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate some of the prasadam he offered. Text 173. Swarup Damodar Goswami then brought some excellent sweetmeats and standing before the Lord offered them to him. Text 174. Swarup Damodar Goswami then said, "Just take a little of this Mahaprasadam and see how it is that Lord Jagannath has accepted it." Text 175. Upon saying this, Swarup Damodar Goswami placed some food before the Lord, and the Lord out of affection ate it. Text 176. Swarup Damodar and Jagadananda again and again offered the Lord some food. Thus they behaved affectionately with the Lord. This was very, very uncommon. Text 177. The Lord made Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya sit on his left side, and when Sarvabhauma saw the behavior of Swarup Damodara and Jagadananda, he smiled. Text 178. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also wanted to offer Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya first-class food. Therefore, out of affection, he had the servers put first-class food on his plate again and again. Text 179. Gopinath Acharya also brought first-class food and offered it to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya while speaking sweet words. Text 180. After serving the Bhattacharya with first-class prasadam, Gopinath Acharya said, "Just consider what the Bhattacharya's previous mundane behavior was. Just consider how at present he is enjoying transcendental bliss. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was previously a Smarta Brahmana, that is, one who strictly follows the Vedic principles on the mundane platform. On the mundane platform, one cannot believe that prasadam is transcendental, that Govinda is the original form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or that a Vaishnava is a liberated person. These transcendental considerations are out of the ordinary Vedic scholars' jurisdiction. Most Vedic scholars are called Vedantis. These so-called followers of Vedanta philosophy consider the absolute truth to be impersonal. They also believe that a person born in a particular caste cannot change his caste until he dies and takes rebirth. The Smarta Brahmanas also reject the fact that Mahaprasadam, food offered to the deity, is transcendental and materially uncontaminated. Originally, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was subjected to all the rules and regulations of the Vedic principles on the mundane platform. Now, Gopinath Acharya pointed out how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had been converted by the causeless mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being converted, Sarvabhauma partook of prasadam with the Vaishnavas. Indeed, he sat by the side of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 181. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya replied to Gopinath Acharya, I was simply a less intelligent logician, but by your grace I have received this opulence of perfection. Text 182. But for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya continued, who is so merciful? He has converted a crow into a Garuda. Who could be so merciful? Text 183. In the association of the jackals known as logicians, I simply continued to bark a resounding pew pew. Now from the same mouth, I am chanting the holy names Krishna and Hari. Text 184. Whereas I once associated with the disciples of logic, all non-devotees, I am now merged in the waves of the nectarian ocean of the association of devotees. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura explains, the word Bahir Mukha refers to a person who is very busy tasting material enjoyment. Such a person always poses himself as an enjoyer of the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Being attracted by his external opulence, the non-devotee always forgets his intimate relationship with Krishna. Such a person does not like the idea of becoming Krishna conscious. This is explained by Srila Prahlad Maharaj in the Srimad Bhagavatam 7:5-30-31. Matirna Krishne Parata Svatova Mito Abhipadyeta Griha Vratanam Adanda Gobhir Vishatam Tamishram Punas Charvita Charvanana Nate Viduhu Swartha Gatim Hi Vishnum Durashaya Ye Bahir Arthamaninaha Antha Yathantair Upaniya Manas Te Pisha Tantriam Urudamni Baddaha. Materialists who are overly attracted to the material body, material world, and material enjoyment, who cannot control their material senses, are carried to the darkest regions of material existence. Such people cannot become Krishna conscious, either by themselves or by congregational effort. Such people do not understand that the goal of life for a human being is to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. A human life is especially meant for this purpose, and one has to go through all kinds of penances and austerities and set aside the propensity for sense gratification. Materialists always remain blind because they are always guided by blind rascals. A materialistic person considers himself free to act as he likes. He does not know that he is rigidly controlled by the stringent laws of nature. Nor does he know that he has to transmigrate from one body to another and perpetually rot in material existence. Such rascals and foolish people are lured by the prayers of their foolish leaders for sense gratification. And they cannot understand what is meant by Krishna consciousness. The material world exists outside the spiritual sky, and a foolish materialist cannot estimate the extent of this material sky. What then can he know of the spiritual sky? Materialists simply believe their imperfect senses and do not take instructions from the revealed scriptures. According to Vedic civilization, one has to see through the authority of the revealed scriptures. Shastra Chakshu. One should see everything through the medium of the Vedic literature. In this way, one can distinguish between the spiritual world and material world. Those who ignore such instructions cannot be convinced of the existence of the spiritual world. Because they have forgotten their spiritual identity, such materialists take this material world as the all in all. They are therefore called Bahirmukha. Text 185. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, from your previous birth, you have been in Krishna consciousness. Thus, you love Krishna so much that simply by your association, we are all developing Krishna consciousness. Text 186. Thus, there is no one within these three worlds, save for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is always so willing to increase the glories of the devotees and give them satisfaction. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. In this regard, one should consult the discussion between Kapila Deva and Devahuti on the subject matter of devotional service. This is found in Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto. Text 187. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then took all the remnants of food offered to Jagannath, such as cakes and sweet rice, and distributed them to all the other devotees, calling them individually. Text 188. As Sri Advaitacharya and Nityananda Prabhu sat side by side, and when prasadam was being distributed, they engaged in a type of mock fighting. Text 189. First, Advaitacharya said, I am sitting in line with an unknown mendicant, and because I am eating with him, I do not know what kind of destination is awaiting me. Text 190. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in the renounced order of life. Consequently, he does not recognize discrepancies. As a matter of fact, a sannyasi is not affected by eating food from anywhere and everywhere. Text 191. According to the Shastras, there is no discrepancy in a sannyasi's eating at another's house. But for a householder Brahmana, this kind of eating is faulty. Text 192. It is not proper for householders to dine with those whose previous birth, family, character, and behavior are unknown. Text 193. Nityananda Prabhu immediately refuted Srila Advaitacharya, saying, you are a teacher of impersonal monism, and the monastic conclusion is a great hindrance to progressive pure devotional service. Text 194. One who participates in your impersonal monastic philosophy does not accept anything but the one Brahman. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The impersonal monist does not believe that God is the only object of worship and that the living entities are His eternal servants. According to the monist, God and the devotee may be separate in the material state, but when they are spiritually situated, there is no difference between them. This is called Advaita Siddhanta. The conclusion of the monist. Monists consider devotional service of the Lord to be material activity. Therefore, they consider such devotional activities to be the same as karma or fruitive activity. This monastic mistake is a great stumbling block on the road to devotional service. Actually, this discussion between Advaitacharya and Nityananda was a mock fight to serve as a great instruction for all devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu wanted to point out that Advaitacharya, a pure devotee, did not agree with the monastic conclusion. The conclusion of devotional service is Vadanti tat tattvavidas, tattvam yajnanam advayam, brahmedi paramatmedi bhagavaniti shabdyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. Bhagavatam 1-11. Absolute knowledge consists of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. This conclusion is not the same as that of the monists. Srila Advaita Acharya was given the title of Acharya because he spread the Bhakti cult, not the philosophy of monism. The true conclusion of Advaita Siddhanta, expressed at the very beginning of the Chaitanya Caritamrta, Adi Lila 1.3, is not the same as the philosophy of the monists. Here, Advaita Siddhanta means Advaya Jnana, or oneness in variety. Actually, Sri Nityananda Prabhu was praising Srila Advaitacharya through friendly mock fighting. He was giving the Vaishnava conclusion in terms of the Bhagavatam's conclusive words, Vadanti tat tattvavida. This is also the conclusion of a mantra in the Chandogya Upanishad. Ekam eka eva dvitiyam. A devotee knows that there is oneness in diversity. The mantras of the Shastras do not support the monistic conclusions of the impersonalists, nor does Vaishnava philosophy accept impersonalism without variety. Brahman is the greatest. He who concludes everything, and that is oneness. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 7.7, Matta Paradaram Nanyat, there is no one superior to Krishna himself. He is the original substance because every category emanates from him. Thus, he is simultaneously one with and different from all other categories. The Lord is always engaged in a variety of spiritual activities, but the monist cannot understand spiritual variety. The conclusion is that although the powerful and the power are one and the same, within the energy of the powerful, there are varieties. In those varieties, there is a distinction between the different parts of one's personal self, between types of the same category, and between types of different categories. In other words, there is always variety in the categories, which are understood as knowledge, the knower, and the knowable. Due to the external existence of knowledge, the knower and the knowable, devotees everywhere know about the external existence of the form, name, qualities, pastimes, and entourage of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Devotees never agree with the monist's preaching of oneness. Unless one adheres to the conceptions of the knower, knowable, and knowledge, there is no possibility of understanding spiritual variety, nor can one taste the transcendental bliss of spiritual variety. The philosophy of monism is an adjustment of the Buddhist philosophy of voidism. In a mock fight with Sri Advaita Acharya, Sri Nityananda Prabhu was refuting this type of monistic philosophy. Vaishnavas certainly accept Lord Sri Krishna as the ultimate one. And that which is without Krishna is called Maya, or that which has no existence. External Maya is exhibited in two phases: Jiva Maya, the living entities, and Guna Maya, the material world. In the material world, there is Prakriti, material nature, and Pradhana, the ingredients of material nature. However, for one who becomes Krishna conscious, the distinction between material and spiritual varieties does not exist. An advanced devotee like Prahlad Maharaj sees everything as one, Krishna. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 7.4.37, Krishna graha grihitatma na veda jagad idrisham. One who is in full Krishna consciousness does not distinguish between things material and spiritual. He takes everything to be related to Krishna and therefore spiritual. By Advaita Jnana Darshana, Srila Advaita Acharya has glorified pure devotional service. Srila Nityananda Prabhu herein sarcastically condemns the philosophy of the impersonal monist and praises the correct non-dual philosophy of Sri Advaita Prabhu. Text 195. Nityananda Prabhu continued, "You are such a monist, and now I am eating beside you. I do not know how my mind will be affected in this way." Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Sangat Sanjayate Kama, Bhagavad Gita 262. One develops his consciousness according to society and association. As Srila Nityananda Prabhu admits, a devotee should be very careful when associating with those who are not devotees. When asked by a householder devotee what the behavior of a devotee should be, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu immediately replied, "Asat Sangat Tyaga E Vaishnava Achara, Stri Sangi Eka Asadhu, Krishna Bhakta Ara." Chaitanya Caritamrta, Madhya lila 2287. A Vaishnava, a devotee, should simply discard intimate association with non-devotees. In his Upadeshamrita, Srila Rupa Goswami has described the symptoms of intimate relationship in this way. Dadati prati grihnati guhyamakhyati prichati bhungte bhojete cheva shadvitham priti lakshanam. The words bhungte bhojete indicate that one should eat with devotees. One should carefully avoid eating food offered by non-devotees. Indeed, a devotee should be very strict in not accepting food from a non-devotee, especially food prepared in restaurants and or hotels or on airplanes. Srila Nityananda Prabhu's reference in this connection is meant to emphasize that one should avoid eating with Mayavadis and covert Mayavadis like the Sahajiya Vaishnavas who are materially affected. Text 196. Thus they both went on talking and praising one another, although their praise appeared negative, for it appeared as if they exchanged ill names. Text 197. Thereafter, calling all the Vaishnavas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distributed Mahaprasadam as if sprinkling nectar. At that time, the mock fight between Advaitacharya and Nityananda Prabhu became more and more delicious. Text 198. After taking their lunch, all the Vaishnavas stood up and chanted the holy name of Hari, and the resounding noise filled all the upper and lower planetary systems. Text 199. After this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered flower garlands and sandalwood pulp to all his devoted personal associates. Text 200. The 7 persons headed by Swarup Damodara, who were engaged in distributing prasadam to others, then took their meals within the room. Text 201. Govinda saved some remnants of food left by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and kept them carefully. Later, one portion of these remnants was delivered to Haridas Thakur. Text 202. The remnants of food left by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were later distributed among devotees who begged for them, and finally Govinda personally took the last remnants. Text 203. The fully independent Supreme Personality of Godhead performs various types of pastimes. The pastime of washing and cleansing the Gundicha temple is but one of them. Text 204. The next day marked the performance of the festival of Netrolsava. This great festival was the life and soul of the devotees. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. After the bathing ceremony of Lord Jagannath, during the fortnight before the Ratha-yātrā ceremony, the body of Lord Jagannath, having been washed, needs repainting. This is known as Angaraga. The Netrotsava festival, performed gorgeously in the early morning of the Navayavana day, constitutes the life and soul of the devotees. Text 205. Everyone was unhappy for a fortnight because they could not see the deity of Lord Jagannath. Upon seeing the Lord at the festival, the devotees were very happy. Text 206. On this occasion, greatly happy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took all the devotees with him and visited the Lord in the temple. Text 207. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to visit the temple, Kashishvara walked in front, checking the crowds of people, and Govinda walked in the rear, bringing the sannyasi's pitcher filled with water. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The Karanga is a kind of water pot, especially carried by Mayavadi sannyasis and generally carried by all other sannyasis. Text 208. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went toward the temple, Paramananda Puri and Brahmananda Bharati walked in front of him, and at his two sides walked Swarup Damodara and Advaita Acharya. Text 209. With great eagerness, all the other devotees followed them into the temple of Lord Jagannath. Text 210. Out of great eagerness to see the Lord, they all neglected the regulative principles and just to see the Lord's face went to the place where the food was offered. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. There are many regulative principles of the deity worship. For example, one is not allowed to enter the room where the food is offered to Lord Jagannath. But in this case, being very eager because of not having seen the Lord for 15 days, all the people overruled the regulative principles and entered the room. Text 211. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very thirsty to see the Lord, and his eyes became like two bumblebees drinking the honey from the lotus-like eyes of Lord Jagannath, who is Krishna himself. Text 212. The eyes of Lord Jagannath conquered the beauty of blossoming lotus flowers, and his neck was as lustrous as a mirror made of sapphires. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu usually saw Lord Jagannath from a distance, standing behind the column of Garuda. But because he had not seen Lord Jagannath for 15 days, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt great separation from him. In great eagerness, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu crossed the meeting hall and entered the room where food was offered, just to see the face of Lord Jagannath. In verse 210, this action is called Maryada Lankana, a violation of the regulative principles. This indicates that one should not come very near a superior. Both the Lord's deity form and the spiritual master should be seen from a distant place. This is called Maryada. Otherwise, as it is said, familiarity breeds contempt. Sometimes coming too near the deity or the spiritual master degrades the neophyte devotee. Personal servants of the deity and the spiritual master should Therefore, always be very careful, for negligence may overcome them in their duty. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's eyes have been compared to thirsty bumblebees, and Sri Jagannatha's eyes have been compared to blossoming lotus flowers. The author has made these comparisons in order to describe Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu while the Lord was deeply absorbed in ecstatic love for Lord Jagannath. Text 213. The chin of the Lord, tinged with buff color, conquered the beauty of the bandhuli flower. This increased the beauty of his mild smiling, which was like lustrous waves of nectar. Text 214. The luster of his beautiful face increased at every moment, and the eyes of hundreds of thousands of devotees drank its honey like bumblebees. Text 215. As their eyes began to drink the nectar honey of his lotus face, their thirst increased. Thus, their eyes did not leave him. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. In the Lagu Bhagavatamrita 15538, Srila Rupa Goswami has described the beauty of the Lord in this way. Asamanordhva madhurya tarangamrita varidhi jangama sthavarolasi rupo gopendra nandana. The beauty of the son of Maharaja Nanda is incomparable. Nothing is higher than his beauty, and nothing can equal it. His beauty is like waves in an ocean of nectar. This beauty is attractive both for moving and non-moving objects. Similarly, in the Tantra Shastra, there is another description of the Lord's beauty. Kandarpa Koti Arbuda Rupa Shobha Nirajya Padabja Nakhanchalasya Kutrapyadrishta Shruta Ramya Kanter Dhyanam Param Nanda Sutasya Vakshye. I shall relate the supreme meditation upon Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. The tips of the toes of his lotus feet reflect the beauty of the bodies of unlimited millions of cupids, and his bodily luster has never been seen or heard of anywhere. One may also consult Srimad Bhagavatam 10:29-14 in this connection. Text 216. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees enjoyed transcendental bliss upon seeing the face of Jagannath. This is continued to midday. Text 217. As usual, there were transcendental blissful symptoms in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's body. He perspired and trembled, and a constant flow of tears fell from his eyes. But the Lord checked these tears so they would not disturb his seeing the face of the Lord. Text 218. Their looking at the face of Lord Jagannath was interrupted only when he was offered food. Afterwards, they would again look upon his face. When the food was being offered to the Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his Kirtana. Text 219. Feeling such great pleasure upon seeing the face of Lord Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu forgot everything. The devotees, however, took him to his lunch at noontime. Text 220. Knowing that the car festival would take place in the next morning, all the servants of Lord Jagannath were doubling their offerings of food. Text 221. I have briefly described the pastimes of the Lord in washing and cleansing the Gundicha temple. By seeing or hearing these pastimes, even sinful men can awaken their Krishna consciousness. Text 222. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunatha, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta following in their footsteps. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta Madhya Lila, chapter 12, describing washing and cleansing of the Gundicha temple. Is it time, Mataji? Okay. Should I click the next chapter? Let's see.
How do I do it? Like this?
Yes.
Can you show me how it goes up and down? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Reading from. Is that good? Okay. Reading from chapter 13, the ecstatic dancing of the Lord at Ratha-yātrā. A summary of this chapter is given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Bhavana Bhashya as following. After bathing in the morning, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu saw the deities Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra getting aboard 3 cars. The function is called Adi Vijaya. At that time, King Bhadraparudra took a broom with a golden handle and began to cleanse the road. Lord Jagannath took permission from the goddess of fortune and then started in the car for the Gundicha temple. The road to the temple led along a broad sandy beach. On both sides of the roads were residential quarters, houses, and gardens. Is that okay? Okay. Along the road, the servants, who were called the Gadas, began to pull the cart. Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu divided his Sankirtan party into 7 divisions, with 2 Madangas in each division. There were altogether 14 Madangas. While performing the Kirtan, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu exhibited various symptoms of transcendental ecstasy, and Jagannath and Caitanya Mahāprabhu engaged their feelings very blissfully. When the cart reached the place known as Balu Gandhi, the devotees offered the deities simple food. At that time, in the garden, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu and his devotees took a brief rest from dancing. Text 1, translation. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who danced in front of the car of Sri Jagannath, may be all glorified. By seeing his dancing, not only the whole universe held in wonder, but Lord Jagannath himself became very astonished. Text 2, all glories to Sri Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, and Prabhu Nityananda. All glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to the devotees of Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Text 3, all glories to the listeners of the Caitanya Caritamrta. Please hear this description of the dancing of Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu at Ratha-yātrā. His dancing was very enchanting. Please hear of it with great attention. Text 4. Next day, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu and his personal associates got up in the dark and attentively took their early morning baths. Text 5. Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu and his most personal associates then went to the ceremony of Adi Vijaya. During the ceremony, Lord Jagannath leaves his throne and gets up onto the cart. King Bhadraparudra in person, as well as his entourage, allowed Adi Vijaya ceremony to be seen by all the associates of Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu and his prominent devotees, Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu, and others were very happy to observe Lord Jagannath begin the Ratha-yātrā. The strongly built Daityas, carriers of the Jagannath deities, were as powerful as drunken elephants. They manually carried Lord Jagannath from the throne to the car. The word Daitya refers to one who has received the mercy of the Lord Jagannath, has a number of stalwart servants known as deities. These servants do not come from very high caste families, Brahmin, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, because they are engaged in the service of the Lord. They have been elevated to a respectable position. They are known as deities. The servants of Jagannath take care of the Lord from the day of the Sanyayarti up to the time of Lord. The Lord is carried from the throne to the Rath cart. In the Kshetra Maya, these deities are said to come from the Sabaras, a caste that keeps and sells pigs. However, the deities there are also many who will come from the Brahmin caste. Those deities coming from the Brahmin families are called Dayatapatas, or leaders of the deities. The Dayatapatas offer foods and sweetmeats to Lord Jagannath during the Anubhashara. The resting period after Sanyayarta. They also make early morning offerings of sweetmeats daily. It is said that during the Anubhashara, Lord Jagannath suffers from fever, and the Dayatapatas offer him the diffusion of drugs represented by fruit juice. It is said that in the beginning, Lord Jagannath was worshipped by the Sambaras and are known as the deity Lila Madhya. Later, when the deity was established in the temple, the Lord became known as Jagannath. Because the deities were taken from the Sambaras, all the Sambara devotees were elevated to the position of deities. While carrying the deity of Lord Jagannath, some of the deities took hold of his shoulders of the Lord and caught his lotus feet. The Lord Jagannath deity was bound at the waist by a strong, thick rope made of silk. From the two sides, the deities caught hold of this rope and raised the deities. Strong, puffed up cotton pads called tilas were spread out from the throne to the cart, and the heavy deities of Lord Jagannath carried from the pillow-like pad to the necks by the deities. When the deities carried a heavy Jagannath deity from one pad to the next, some of the pads broke and the cotton contents floated in the air. When they broke, they made a heavy crackling sound. Lord Jagannath, the maintainer of the whole universe, who can carry him from one place to another, the Lord moves by his special will just to perform his pastimes. When the Lord was transported from the throne to the car, the tumultuous sounds were made on the various musical instruments. Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu was chanting, Manama, Manama, but he could not be heard. The word Manamaha is used to address a respectable person in Orissa. Lord Jagannath was being respectfully addressed by Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu in this way. While the Lord was being carried from the throne to the car, King Patraparudra personally engaged in the Lord's service by cleansing the road with a broom that had a golden handle. Just moving a couple down because my neck's good. Yeah. Well, I think it's okay. The king sprinkled the road with sandalwood scented water. Although he was the owner of the royal throne, he engaged in menial service for the sake of Lord Jagannath. Although the king was the most exalted, respectable person, he still accepted the menial service of the Lord, and thereby he became a suitable candidate for receiving the Lord's mercy. Upon seeing the king engaged in menial service, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu became very happy. By rendering this service, the king received the mercy of the Lord. Unless one receives the mercy of the Lord, he cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead or engage in his devotional service. A devotee who has received even a small fraction of the mercy of the Lord can understand him. Others may engage in theoretical speculation to understand the Lord, but they cannot know anything about him. Although King Maharaj Ratha-yātrā was very eager to see Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu, the Lord refused to see him. But when Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu saw the king engaged in menial service for Lord Jagannath, he became very happy. Thus the king became eligible to receive Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu's mercy. If a devotee accepts Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu as a universal guru and Lord Jagannath as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is benefited by the combined mercy of Krishna and Guru. That is stated by Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu in his instructions to Rupa Goswami, Caitanya Charitamrta, Madhya Lila, chapter 19, verse 151. The seed of a devotional service fructifies and becomes a transcendental creeper. Finally, it reaches the lotus feet of the Lord in the spiritual sky. The seed is obtained by the mercy of the Lord and the Guru. By the Lord's mercy, one gets the association of a bona fide spiritual master, and by the mercy of the Guru, one gets a chance to render devotional service. Devotional service, the science of bhakti yoga, carries one from this material world to the spiritual world. Text 19. Everyone was astonished to see the decorations of the Rath cart. The cart appeared to be newly made of gold, and it is as high as Mount Sumeru. Purport. In the year 1973 was a gorgeous Ratha-yātrā festival in London, England, and the cart was brought to Trafalgar Square. The daily London newspaper, The Guardian, published a front page photo captioned, "ISKCON's Ratha-yātrā is rival to the Nelson Column in Trafalgar Square. The Nelson Common is very impressive statue of Lord Nelson and can be seen from a good distance, just as the residents of Puri compared the Ratha-yātrā cart to Mount Sumeru. The residents of London considered the car rival to the Nelson Monument." The decorations included bright mirrors and hundreds of chambras, white whisk made of yak tails. On the top of the cart were neat and clean canopies and a very beautiful flag. The car was decorated with silken cloth, various pictures, many brass bells, gongs, and ankle bells rang. For the pastimes of the Ratha-yātrā ceremony, Lord Jagannath got aboard one cart, and his sister Subhadra and elder brother Balaram got aboard two other carts. For 15 days, the Lord remained in a secluded place with the Supreme Goddess of Fortune and performed pastimes with her. The 15-day period, Anubhasara, is called Nirvirata, in honor of the solitary place where the Supreme Goddess of Fortune lives. After living there a fortnight, Lord Jagannath took permission from the Goddess of Fortune to leave. Text 24. Having taken permission from the Goddess of Fortune, the Lord came out for a ride on the Rath cart and performed his pastimes for the pleasure of devotees. In this connection, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur comments that as an ideal husband, Lord Jagannath remained for 15 days in a secluded place with his wife, the Supreme Goddess of Fortune. Nonetheless, the Lord wanted to come out of seclusion and give happiness to his devotees. The devotees enjoy himself in two ways, known as Vairākya and Parakya. The Lord's conjugal love in Saivakya Rasa relates to the regulator principles of war observed in Dwarka, where the Lord has many married queens. But in Vrindavan, the conjugal love of the Lord is not with married wives, but with his girlfriends, the gopis. Conjugal love with the gopis is called Parikya Rasa. Lord Jagannath leaves the secluded place where he enjoys the company of the Supreme Goddess of Fortune, Svaikya Rasa, and he goes to Vrindavan and he enjoys the Parikya Rasa. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur reminds us that the Lord's pleasure in Parikya Rasa is superior to the pleasure in Svaikya Rasa. In the material world, Parikya Rasa, where the loving affairs of unmarried girlfriends is the most degraded relationship. But in the spiritual world, this type of loving affair is considered the supreme enjoyment. In the material world, everything is but a reflection of the spiritual world, and that reflection is perverted. We cannot understand the affairs of the spiritual world on the basis of our experience in the material world. The Lord's pastimes with the gopis are therefore misunderstood by mundane scholars and world wranglers. Parikya Rasa of the spiritual world should not be discussed except by one who is very advanced in pure devotional service. Parikya Rasa in the spiritual world and that in the spiritual world are not comparable. The former is like gold and the latter is like iron. Because the difference between the two is so great, they cannot actually be compared. However, just as a knowledgeable person can easily distinguish gold from iron, one who has proper realization can distinguish the transcendental activities of the spiritual world from material activities. Text number 25, translation. The fine and white sand spread over the path resembled the banks of the Yamuna, and the small gardens on both sides looked like those in Vrindavan. As Lord Jagannath rode in his car, he saw the beauty of both sides. His mind was filled with pleasure. The pullers of the cart are known as gadas, and they pull with great pleasure. However, the car sometimes went very fast, sometimes very slow. Sometimes the car would stand still and not move, even though it was pulled very vigorously. The chariot therefore moved by the will of the Lord, not by the strength of an ordinary person. Text number 29. As the car stood still, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu gathered all his devotees and with his own hand decorated them with the flower garlands and sandalwood pulp. Paramananda Puri and Brahmananda Bharata were personally given garlands and sandalwood pulp from the very hands of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, thus increased their transcendental pleasure. Similarly, when Advaita-acharya and Nityananda felt the touch of the transcendental hand of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, they were very pleased. The Lord also gave garlands and sandalwood pulp to the performers of the Sankirtan. The two chief performers were Swarup Damodar and Srivas Thakur. They were together. There were altogether 4 parties of kirtan performers comprising of 24 chanters. In each party there was 2 mridanga players, making an additional 8 persons. When the 4 parties were formed, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, after some consideration, divided the chanters. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita-acharya, Haridas Thakur, and Brikesh Pandit to dance in each of the 4 respective parties. Swarup Damodar was chosen as the leader of the first party and was given 5 assistants to respond to his chanting. The 5 responded to singing of Swarup Damodar and Damodar Pandit, Narayan, Govinda Datta, Raghunath Pandit, and Sri Govardhanananda. Advaita-acharya was ordered to dance in the first group. The Lord then formed another group with Srivas Thakur as the chief leader. In the first group, Damodar Swarup was appointed the chief singer, and the responding singers were Damodar Pandit, Narayan, Govinda Datta, Raghunath Pandit, Govardhanananda. Sri Advaita-acharya was the appointed dancer. The next group was formed by the chief singer was Srivas Thakur. Another group was formed consisting of Vyasadeva, Gopinath, Murari, all of these responsive singers, and Mukunda was the chief singer. Text number 41. Another 2 persons, Sri Kanta and Vallabhasena, joined as responsive singers. In this group, the senior Haridas Thakur was the dancer. In the group, Mukunda was appointed the chief singer. The party was composed of Vyasadeva, Gopinath, Murari, Srikant, and Vallabhasena. The senior Haridas Thakur was the dancer. The Lord formed the other group, appointing Govinda Ghosh as leader. In this group, a young singer, Haridas, Vyasadeva, and Raghunath were the responding singers. The two brothers named Madhava Ghosh and Vyasadeva Ghosh also joined this group as responsive singers. Rakesh Pandit was the dancer. There was a Sankirtan party from the village known as Kulagram, and Ramananda and Satyaraj were appointed dancers of this group. There was another group that came from Santipur and was formed by Advaita Acharya. Chutananda was the dancer and the rest of the men were singers. Another party was formed by the people of Kanda. These people were singing in a different place. In that group, Narahari Prabhu and Raghunathananda were dancing. 4 parties chanted and danced in front of Lord Jagannath. On the other side was another group, yet another was at the rear. There were altogether 7 parties of Sankirtan, and in each party 2 men were beating drums. Thus 14 drums were played at once. The sound was tumultuous, and all the devotees became mad. All Vaishnavas came together like an assembly of clouds. As the devotees chanted the holy names in great ecstasy, tears fell from their eyes like rain. Text number 50. When the Sankirtan resounded, it filled the 3 worlds. Indeed, no one could hear any sounds of musical instruments other than the Sankirtan. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wandered through all 7 groups, chanting the holy name, Hari Hari. Raising his arms, he shouted, "All glories to Lord Jagannath." Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then exhibited another mystic power by performing the pastime simultaneously in all 7 groups. Everyone said, "Lord Chaitanya is present in my group." Indeed, he would not go anywhere else. He was bestowing his mercy upon us. Actually, no one could see the inconceivable potency of the Lord. Only the most confidential devotees, those in pure, unalloyed devotional service could understand. Lord Jagannath was very pleased by the Sankirtan, and he brought his car to a standhill just to see the performance. King Pradraparuda was astonished to see the Sankirtan. He became inactive and converted to the ecstasy of Lord Krishna. When the king informed King Kashi Mishra of the glories of the Lord, Kashi Mishra replied, "O king, your fortune has no limit." The king and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya were both aware of the Lord's activity, but no one else could see the tricks of the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Only a person who has received the mercy can understand. Without the Lord's mercy, even the demigods headed by Lord Brahma could not understand. Wow. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had been very satisfied to see the king accept menial service of sweeping the street. And for this humility, the king received the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He could then therefore observe the mystery of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activity. Purport. The mystery of the Lord's activity is described by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Lord Jagannath was astonished to see the transcendental dancing and chanting of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he stopped his car just to see the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then danced in such a mystical way that he pleased Lord Jagannath. The seer and the dancer were one and the same, Supreme Personality. But the Lord, being one and many at the same time, was exhibiting variegatedness of his pastimes. This is the meaning behind the mysterious exhibition. By the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the king could understand how the two of them were enjoying each other's activities. Another mysterious exhibition was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's simultaneously presence in seventh group. By the mercy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the king could understand that also. Verse text number 61. Although the king had been refused an interview, he was indirectly bestowed causeless mercy. Who could understand the internal potency of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was playing the part of a world teacher, he did not agree to see the king because the king is a mundane person interested in money and women. Indeed, the very word king suggests one who was always surrounded by money and women. As a sannyasi, Sri Krishna Chaitanya was afraid of both money and women. The very word king is repugnant to one who is in the renounced order of life. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu refused to see the king, but indirectly, by the Lord's causeless mercy, the king was able to understand the Lord's mysterious activities. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the activities were exhibited sometimes to reveal himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and sometimes to show him as a devotee. Both kinds of activities are mysterious and appreciated only by pure devotees. When the two great personalities, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Kashi Mishra, saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's causeless mercy upon the king, they were astonished. Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his austerities for some time in this way and personally sang and induced his personal associates to dance. According to the need, the Lord sometimes exhibited one form and sometimes many. This was being executed by his internal potency. Indeed, the personality of Godhead forgot himself in the course of the transcendental pastimes, but his eternal potency, lila Shakti, knowing the intentions of the Lord, made all the arrangement. It is stated in the Upanishad, the Supreme Lord has multi-potencies, which act so perfectly that all consciousness, strength, and activity are being directed solely by his will. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has exhibited his mystic power in presenting himself simultaneously in each and every Sankirtan group. Most people thought that he was one, but some saw him as many. The internal devotees of the Lord could understand the Lord, although one, was exhibiting himself as many in the different Sankirtan groups. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu danced, he forgot himself and was simply absorbed in ecstatic bliss. By his internal potency, arranged everything perfectly. This is the difference between the internal potency and the external potency. In the material world, the external potency, the material energy, can act only after one endeavors with great length, but the Supreme Lord desires everything is performed automatically by his internal potency. By his will, things happen so nicely and perfectly that they appear to be carried out automatically. Sometimes the activities of the internal potencies exhibited in the material world. In fact, all activities in the material nature are actually performed by the inconceivable energies of the Lord. But the so-called scientists and students of material nature are unable to ultimately understand how these things are happening. They invasively conclude that everything is by nature. But they do not know that behind nature is the potent Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Krishna explains that this in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 10. Material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and unmoving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Text number 66. Just as Lord Krishna formerly performed the Rasa lila and other pastimes in Vrindavan, Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu performed uncommon pastimes moment after moment. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing before the Ratha-yātrā cart can be perceived only by the pure devotees. Others cannot understand. Description of the Lord's uncommon dancing can be found in the revealed scriptures, the Srimad Bhagavatam. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna expanded himself into many forms while engaged in the Rasa lila. He also expanded himself when he married 16,108 wives in Dwarka. The same process was adopted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he expanded himself into 7 forms to dance in each and every group Sankirtan party. These expansions were appreciated by pure devotees, including King Patrarudra, although for reasons of eternal formality, refused to see the king. King Patrarudra, because he was the king, King Patrarudra became one of the Lord's most confidential devotees, and by the Lord's special mercy upon him, the king could see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presently in all 7 groups. As confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam, one cannot see the expansions of the transcendental form of the Lord unless one is a pure devotee of the Lord. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced in great jubilation and donated all the people with waves of ecstatic love. Thus, Lord Jagannath mounted his cart, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inspired all his devotees to dance in front of it. Text number 70.
Okay.
We have time until 12:30.
Now, please hear about Lord Jagannath going to the Gundicha temple while Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced before the Ratha cart. The Lord performed Caitanya for some time, and although his own endeavor inspired all the devotees to dance. When the Lord himself wanted to dance, all 7 groups combined together. The Lord's devotee, including Srivas, Ramai, Raghu, Govinda, Mukunda, Haridas, Govardhanananda, Madhava, and Govinda, all combined together. Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu desired to jump high while dancing. He placed these 9 people in charge of Swarup Damodar. These devotees, Swarup Damodar and the devotees in his charge, sang along with the Lord, and they ran along beside him. All other groups of men also sang. Offering obeisances to the Lord with folded hands, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu raised his face towards Jagannath and prayed as follows. Let me offer my respectful obeisances on Lord Krishna, who is the worshipful deity for all Brahminical men, and who is the well-wisher of the cows and the Brahmin, who is always befitting the whole world. I offer my repeated obeisances to the personality of Godhead, known as Krishna and Govinda. This is a quote from the Vishnu Purana, 1:1965. Text 78. All glories unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the son of Devaki. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as light of the dynasty of Vrishni. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose bodily luster is like a new cloud, and whose body is soft as a lotus flower. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has appeared on this planet to deliver the world from the burden of demons, who can offer liberation to everyone. This is a verse from the Mukunda Mala. Text number 79. Lord Sri Krishna was known as Jnana Nirvasya, the ultimate resort of all living entities, and who is also known as Devaki Nanda or Yasodananda, the son of Devaki and Yasoda. He is the guide of the Yadu dynasty, and with his mighty arms he kills everything inauspicious as well as every man who is impious. By his presence, he destroys all things inauspicious for all living entities, moving and inert. His blissful, smiling face increases the lusty desires of the gopis in Vrindavan. May he be all glorious and happy. This is a quotation from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, chapter 90, verse 48. Text number 80. I am not a Brahmin, I am not a Kshatriya, I am not a Vaishya or a Sudra, nor am I a Brahmachari, a householder, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasi. I identify myself only as a servant of the servant of the servant, the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of the universal transcendental bliss. He is always existing with brilliance. This verse 74 from the Padyavalya, an anthology of verses compiled by Sri Rupa Goswami. Having recited all these verses from Scripture, the Lord again offered his obeisances to all the devotees with folded hands and offered prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu danced and jumped high, roaring like thunder, moving in a circle like a wheel, he appeared to be like a circling firebrand. And the burning cinder of the firebrand is whirled about very swiftly. It gives the appearance of a circle of fire. This is called the lila kara, or Ratha-yātrā, the firebrand circle. The whole circle is not actually made of fire, but of a single fire in motion. Similarly, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is a single personality, but when he danced and jumped high in the circle, he appeared like the Ratha-yātrā. Whenever Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu stepped while dancing, the whole world, the whole earth, with its hills and seas, appeared to tilt. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu danced, he displayed various blissful transcendental changes in his body. Sometimes he appeared as though stunned, and sometimes his hair stood on end, and sometimes he perspired, cried, trembled, and changed color, and sometimes he exhibited symptoms of helplessness, pride, exuberance, and humility. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu fell down with a crash while dancing, he would roll on the ground. At such times he appeared with a golden mountain rolling. At such times it appeared that a golden mountain was rolling on the ground. Nityananda Prabhu would stretch out his two hands and try to catch the Lord while he was running here and there. Beḍā-kīrtana walked behind the Lord and loudly chanted, Haribol, again and again. Just to check the crowds from coming too near the Lord, the devotees formed three circles. The first circle was guided by Nityananda Prabhu, who was Balaram himself, the professor of great strength. All the devotees, headed by Kashiswar and Govinda, linked hands and formed a second circle around the Lords. Maharaj Ratha and his personal associates formed a third circle around the two inner circles just to check the crowds from coming too near. With his hands on the shoulders, Hari Charnananda, King Patraparuja could see Lord Caitanya dancing, and the king felt great ecstasy. While the king beheld the dancing, Srinivasa Thakur, standing in front of him, became ecstatic and saw the dancing of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Seeing Srinivasa Thakur standing before the king, Harish Chandra touched Srinivasa with his hand and required him to step aside. Absorbed in watching Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Srinivasa Thakur could understand while he was being touched and pushed. After he was pushed again, he became angry. Srinivasa Thakur slapped Hari Chandra to stop him from pushing him. In turn, this made him Hari Chandra angry. As he angered Hari Chandra, was about to speak to Srinivasa Thakur, Patraparuja and Maharaj personally stopped him. King Patraparuja said, You are very fortunate for having been graced by the touch of Srinivasa Thakur. I am not so fortunate. You should not feel obliged to him. Everyone was astonished by the dancing of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and even Lord Jagannath became extremely happy to see him. The car came to a complete standstill and remained immobile while Lord Jagannath, with unblinking eyes, watched the dancing of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. The goddess of fortune, Subhadra, and Lord Balaram felt great happiness and ecstasy within their hearts. Indeed, they were then smiling at the dancing. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu danced and jumped high, 8 wonderful transformations, indicative of the divine ecstasy, were seen in his body. All the symptoms were visible simultaneously. His skin erupted with goose pimples, and his hair stood on end, and he resembled the simila silk, in parentheses, the silk cotton tree, all covered with thorns. Indeed, the people became afraid just to see his teeth chatter, and they thought that his teeth would fall out. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's whole body flowed with perspiration and at the same time oozed blood. He made sounds like Jala Gaga, and his voice was choked in ecstasy. Text 105. Tears came forcefully from his eyes as if from a syringe, and all the people surrounding him became wet. Everyone saw the complexion of the Lord. His body changed from white to pink, so that his luster resembled the malika flower. Sometimes he appeared stunned, sometimes he rolled on the ground, and indeed sometimes his legs and hands became so hard as dry wood, he did not move. When the Lord fell to the ground, sometimes his breathing almost stopped. When the devotees saw this, their lives became very feeble. When the Lord fell to the ground, sometimes his breathing almost stopped. When the devotees saw this, their lives also became very feeble. Water flowed from his eyes and sometimes through his nostrils, and foam fell from his mouth. The flowings appeared to be torrents of nectar descending from the moon. The foam fell from the mouth of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, was taken and drunk by Subhananda, because he was very fortunate and expert in relishing the mellows of ecstatic love of Krishna. Although Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu had performed his devastating dance for some time, his mind entered in the mood of ecstatic love. After abandoning dancing, the Lord ordered Swarup Damodar to sing. Understanding his mind, Swarup Damodar began to sing as follows. Now I have gained the Lord of my life, in the absence of whom I was being burned by Cupid and was withering away. Purport. This song refers to Srimad Radharani's meeting with Krishna at the holy place of Kurukshetra, where Sri Krishna and his brother and sister came to visit when there was a solar eclipse. It had a song of separation from Krishna. When Radharani met Krishna at Kurukshetra, she remembered his intimate association in Vrindavan, and she thought, now I have gained the Lord of my life. In the absence, I was being burned by the arrows of Cupid in this withering way. Now I have my life again. When the refrain was loudly sung by Swarup Damodar, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu began rhythmically dancing in transcendental bliss. The cart of Lord Jagannath began to move slowly, while the son of Mother Sachi went on to dance in front. While dancing and singing, all the devotees in front of Lord Jagannath kept their eyes on him. Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu then went to the end of the procession with the Sankirtan devotees, performers. His eyes and mind were fully absorbed in Jagannath. Caitanya Mahaprabhu began to sing, began to pray, play the drama of the song with his two arms. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was dramatically enacting the song. He would sometimes fall behind the procession, and sometimes Lord Jagannath would come to a standstill. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu again went forward, Lord Jagannath went slowly to start again. Thus, there was some sort of competition between Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Jagannath in seeing who would lead. But Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was so strong that he made Lord Jagannath wait in his car. Purport. In his Anubhashya, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur describes the ecstasy of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu as follows. After giving up the company of the gopis in Vrindavan, Sri Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, engaged in his pastimes at Dwarka. When Krishna went to Kurukshetra with his brother and sister, others from Dwarka, he again met the inhabitants of Vrindavan, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and Radha Duta Lita, that is, Sri Krishna assuming the part of Srimad Radharani in order to understand Krishna. Lord Jagannath Deva is Krishna, and Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Srimad Radharani. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's leading Lord Jagannath toward the Gandicha temple corresponds to Srimad Radharani leading Krishna towards Vrindavan. Sri Kshetra, Sri Jagannath Puri, taken as the kingdom of Dwarka, and the place where Krishna enjoys supreme opulence. But he was being led by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Vrindavan, the simple village where all the inhabitants filled with ecstatic love for Krishna. Sri Kshetra is the place on a Varsha lila. Okay, I'll finish the purport. He could not forget them. Thus is his opulent Ratha-yātrā. He was returning to Vrindavan in the role of Srimad Radharani. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was examining whether the Lord still remembered the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Thus, when Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu fell behind the Ratha-yātrā cart, Jagannath Deva Krishna understood the mind of Srimad Radharani. Okay, therefore Jagannath sometimes fell behind the dancing of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to indicate Srimad Radharani that he had not forgotten. Thus, Lord Jagannath would jump forward, march with the Rath cart, and wait at a standstill. In this way, the Jagannath agreed without the ecstasy of Srimad Radharani, he could not feel satisfied. While Jagannath was waiting, Gaurasundar Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his ecstasy for Srimad Radharani, immediately came forward to Krishna. At such times, Lord Jagannath would proceed very slowly. These competitive exchanges were all part of the loving affairs between Krishna and Srimad Radharani. In the competition between Lord Jagannath's Murthy and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstasy for Lord Jagannath ecstasy for Srimad Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu emerged successful. Thus ending chapter, text 120. Hare Krishna.